road can do much more than take you from where you are to where you need to be. It can positively transform your life and that of your city.
And that's LAMATA's goal with the Bus Rapid Transit BRT extension from Mile 12 to Ikorodu. Operations commence soon, meaning you'll enjoy a safer, faster, affordable, and comfortable travel culture. But that's just a 10 slice of the juicy pie.
A bigger picture is the socio-economic and environmental benefits to you in particular and to the city in general. What do we mean by that? Stay tuned for more after the news highlights. I am Kate Harmony.
And I'm Obafemi Craig. From our news desk, the news highlights on LAMATA are. Welcome and thanks for joining us. Managing Director of the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA, Dr. Dayo Mobriola, is one of the 37 persons to be screened by the Lagos State House of Assembly this week for cabinet position. Dr. Mobriola, a transport economist, is the pioneer Managing Director of Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA, responsible for planning, regulating, and franchising transport activities in Lagos. He earned the doctorate degree in transport economics of the University of Wales, Cardiff, UK. Dr. Mobriola has about 30 years working experience in the UK, Middle East, and Nigeria in transport planning and implementation. He has been directing the implementation of multimodal integrated public transport PT system for Lagos. He has also supervised the development of a 20-year transport master plan for the state and implemented the Mile 12 to CMS Bus Rapid Transit BRT system, the first in Africa. The BRT corridor has been extended by 13.5 kilometers from Mile 12 to Ikorodu. Under his watch, the first phase of the 27-kilometer Blue Line Rail project between Okokomaiko and Marina has reached advanced stages of completion. That ends the news highlights.
Basically, what LAMATA does is to coordinate public transportation in Lagos State, and we came up with a transport master plan.
Developed together with the World Bank, the objective of this plan is finding long-lasting solutions for the problem of transportation in Lagos. Currently under its first steps of development, the plan has already proven itself a big success, dramatically increasing the connectivity in a city in continuous expansion and enjoying an unparalleled demographic and economic growth.
Our responsibility is to ensure that we provide the necessary infrastructure to meet the growth, to improve the quality of life, to improve the standard of living, and to make Lagos a vibrant and livable city in years to come.
LAMATA, keeping Lagos moving.
What a long way we've come, and what greater things still lie in wait with the commencement of operations. Mr. Olutaya Orekoya, Director, Corporate and Investment Planning, LAMATA, is here to give us a fuller picture of these socio-economic and environmental benefits we earlier talked about on the show. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You know, the Mile 12 to Ikorodu BRT extension project is such a huge one. Could you please educate us on the thinking behind that project?
Thank you very much. The project, as you well know, is a public transport project, and like every enhanced public transport system, is a plus for the Human Development Index in any economy. For us, having this extension of the BRT services to Ikorodu town is a reflection of deep thoughts that have gone into availing the good people of Lagos State, particularly those who commute in that axis, to have enhanced living, a good life, as well as being able to get the very best in terms of public transportation. Now, we started with the BRT Light from Mile 12 to CMS, and the natural thing is to extend it to Ikorodu Township. And so, as part of our plans, we put into consideration the social, economic, as well as the environmental factors that could enhance the project. Now, talking about socio-economic factors, we look at the quality of life of the people. We look at how people can have more money in their pockets, haven't spent on public transportation. We take a look at how life can be enhanced generally. Beyond that, on environmental issues, we consider how do we make this project to be environmentally friendly as much as possible. Talking about putting in place what we call an environmental impact assessment, EIA, at the commencement of the project, so that we will be able to see what impact would the project have on the environment and how do we mitigate negative impacts and see how the project would also positively impact in terms of the environment. Now, we also put in place what we call the Resettlement Action Plan, which is called RAP, to ensure that as much as possible, we avoid involuntary resettlement. And where there will be such resettlement, we make it as minimally inconvenient as possible. Also, with a view to adjusting the design of the project such that we will be able to minimize to the barest minimum the negative environmental impact on the people. So these were the thoughts that went into putting the project together.
What parameters will be used to adjudge the success or otherwise of this operation, as we know that the end for LAMATA is to see operation commence and benefits derived?
For us, we have what we call the key performance indicators that we use to measure the success or otherwise of this project. And some of these naturally include, for example, average time spent by a commuter, per trip along that corridor. Average money spent by the poor individual per trip on the same corridor. When we talk about the poor individual, the definition are those who earn the minimum wage. What percentage of their disposable income is spent on public transport along that corridor per trip? We also take a look at what is the number of passengers per standard bus per day across the corridor. How many passengers on average does a standard bus convey? We look at what is the number of direct beneficiaries from the project, and of which what percentage are women in particular. We are particular about that. Then what is the number of indirect beneficiaries? We take a look at the number of commuters who take the BRT buses on that corridor that confirm that they own either their own personal cars or two-wheeler vehicles. For us to be able to see the number that are actually dropping their vehicles to go on the BRT.
To take the BRT buses.
And again, of this percentage, what percentage of them report satisfactory perception, highly satisfactory perception of the BRT system across that corridor? We take a look at what is the number of 100,000 vehicle kilometer of road accidents across the corridor. These are further classified into, are they serious, are they minor, or are they fatal accidents? So, we have these as the key performance indicators by which we measure how successful the project is going.
Now, we have different classes of people, the commuters, you have the working professionals, you have the business owners, you have women, like you mentioned, you have people who earn wages and all that, applying this route. Could you tell us the benefits they stand to gain by using the BRT?
But I like to look at, okay, the working class people as well as the commuters, group them together. Yes. The benefits are tremendous. You talk about reliability. Reliability in terms of time and availability of these buses. These buses will also always be there, and then you have the timing, you can plan, right? That is one. Two, you have reduction in terms of waiting time, right? For example, I mean, we're going to get our estimated waiting time should move from 30 minutes on average to about 10 minutes, and that's about 66% savings. We talk about anticipated reduction in time spent, across the corridor. And we're looking at an average of about 58%, that is from Ikorodu town up to CMS. We're talking about being able to reduce the time from about 2 hours to about 50 minutes. And that's averagely about 58% reduction. We're looking at reduction in emissions, CO2, a minimum of about 16% reduction. We're talking about reduction in accidents that are PT related across the corridor. So these are part of the benefits to the average commuters. And don't forget, you're talking about affordability. You're talking about comfort, right? So all these are the totality of the benefits to the average commuter or somebody who is a worker that comes on the BRT bus across that corridor. Beyond that, you talked about business owners. Of course, a lot of business is being created along the corridor. And you would know that by the time the operations will start, more businesses will be generated. I mean, people would, of course, take advantage of the services there to grow their businesses. New businesses will come in. And also talking about the landlords or people who have property around the corridor.
Oh, leave that one. It's already going up.
Of course,
because you just got there.
You can be rest assured that the value of the properties will go up. The rental values will go up, and a good number of even people who had properties in that axis who decided to abandon their properties due to the traffic situation are already moving back. So these are benefits that are incalculable that would accrue to the various classes of stakeholders on the corridor.
Now let's look at this. Most of the time, the World Bank assisted programs like the BRT extension are channeled towards poverty reduction. In all we have said, how will this project achieve this in line with your vision and, of course, research that was
Thank you very much. The issue of poverty reduction is critical and central to all our projects. And in this particular instance, the poverty alleviation aspect of the project actually commenced even long before the operation started. During the construction, we talk about engaging, people, casual labor, who would work with the contractors, who worked with them during that period. We generated a number of jobs during that period. And of course, by the time the operations will commence, you cannot quantify the amount of jobs that will be created, both directly and indirectly. You want to talk about the bus drivers that will be engaged. You want to talk about the bus conductors. You want to talk about those that will handle ticket sales. And of course, so all these contribute to poverty alleviation. Again, during the time that we had the EIA and the RAP in place, we actually decided, to intervene by building new markets at Agility, where we moved those, from Mile 12, the plantain sellers from Agilogo to Agility, and also the other market from Ikorodu, we moved to Olu Odikon. So, I mean, this naturally will enhance, businesses in the market and will lead to poverty alleviation. We continue to open up the space for business through the intervention in this corridor, through the introduction of the BRT systems there. And we know that in terms of direct and indirect jobs created, poverty alleviation, it is huge. And so this is one of the fundamentals of the project, and we're glad we're going to achieve that.
Okay, I think you've dealt extensively on the benefits of this project to the commuters and everyone around there, the landlords, the business owners, working professionals. But then let's get back to the government, the Lagos State government. What benefit do they stand to gain with this project?
First, the government has a responsibility to provide social services to its people. And of course, by doing that, the government is a huge beneficiary of achieving one of its key objectives. Okay. Beyond that, productivity will naturally be enhanced by the time you have people who could plan their movements, people who are happier workers, more motivated. When you get on the bus, you are comfortable, you get into your office, you're more relaxed, you'll be able to add value either in the private or the public sectors. So the economy of the state is enhanced. And of course, that leads to enhanced profitability for the private sector. And of course, the more there's profitability, there is enhanced taxation, which will increase revenue generated by the state government. So the state government is a huge beneficiary in so many ways. Of course, don't forget the jobs that we have talked about that will be created, all over the place, the rents that will go up. So naturally, even the government would have, enhanced values from land use charges and other charges that will come from such economic benefits.
So it's symbiotic.
So it is symbiotic.
How sustainable is this project, one? And what mechanism do you have in place to achieve this?
Well, the project is hugely sustainable by the nature of its structure. It is a PPP system whereby government provides
for the sake of our audience and viewers at home, PPP.
PPP.
Okay, thank you. PPP is actually public-private partnerships initiative, whereby the public sector, that is the government, provides the infrastructure, while the private sector provides the buses, the depots, they run the depots, operations, and maintenance. And so we have inbuilt into the system a situation whereby there will be continuous maintenance of not only the buses, but the infrastructure. And we as regulators will be able to ensure standardization of all these. Beyond that, we also have in place a situation whereby refleeting of the vehicles will become a natural phenomenon.
Well, to our audience, the concluding part of this conversation is yours. So we'll just take a break to let you have your thoughts put together so that we can take it from your own angle. And we'll be right back after this timeout.
Lagos, my home. With LAMATA, Lagos is changing for the best.
It's a pleasure to have you back with us, and thanks so much for staying with us. It's now time to take questions and comments from our audience.
There are some areas in Lagos State that do not have your services. Places, for example, like Amukoko, Apapa, and Ajegule. Do you have plans to extend your operations to these areas so that the inhabitants of these areas can enjoy your services? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can tell you very surely that we have what we call a strategic transport master plan. And this master plan was developed originally to end in the year 2020, but we have now extended it to year 2032. And as part of that strategic transport master plan, we have identified the various corridors that we're going to have, not even just the BRT, also the rail and water transportation. And all these will be networked together. And that would make it possible for us to have what we call the multimodal integrated public transport. So I want to assure you, it's a question of time, and you can be rest assured that BRT will get to some of these areas you have mentioned because they are already in the plan. But of course, we need to take it one at a time.
How many hours can these services run in a day?
Well, the number of hours it can run in a day is actually 24 hours that it can run. But the number of hours it would run would be between a range of 16 to 18 hours. And that means from about 6 a.m. till probably about 10 p.m. to 12 noon, midnight every day.
Well, we want to thank you very much for your questions. We'll take another break at this point, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. We've been speaking with Mr. Olutayo Orekoya, Director, Corporate and Investment Planning, LAMATA, taking us through the understanding of the socio-economic and environmental impact of the Bus Rapid Transit BRT extension project from Mile 12 to Ikorodu. Before you go, your parting words.
Whether you are a car owner, you own a two-wheeler, or you're physically challenged, everybody that's commuting across that corridor is invited to take maximum advantage of these services once we get started, so that you can benefit from all that we have spoken about earlier on. Be able to have enough savings in terms of time, in terms of money spent, in terms of your health, and all that. Beyond this, safety is very important. Let's obey the BRT guidelines. Don't drive your personal cars on the BRT corridor. And of course, I know that with all these the government has put in place, it will be an opportunity for you to have maximum benefit.
Thank you so much for being with us on the show today. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Like I always say, hope you come back again.
By the grace of God.
Definitely, you must come back.
Thank you.
LAMATA Have Our continues in a moment. Join us again.
Lagos, my home. With LAMATA, Lagos is changing for the best.
We are grateful beyond descriptions for the messages you send in every day. Let's take a look at one of them. At Desonya Olabode, you posted saying, LAMATA, you do well in Lagos. Keep it on. But please help us give power to our people over those that sells market beside the road, mostly Yanopaja and Ikeja. Thanks. Olabode, thanks for your commendation of LAMATA. The issue of roadside sellers is one that is being looked into by the government. Our officials are limited in their power to embark on any enforcement. The enforcing arms are working around the clock with strategies to resolve the menace of roadside sellers. You cannot help a customer whose mind you do not know. So help us know your mind. Send your questions, comments, and remarks to any of the following.
Thank you again for being with us on the show, and here's a worthy lesson from the episode. Be the kind of person who does better than expected and surpasses beyond expectations like LAMATA, which has given you more than a road with the Mile 12 to Ikorodu BRT extension and a personal and corporate growth and development.
We subscribe to the business wisdom of Arthur F. Sheldon, who said, "He who delivers the best service makes the most profit." A worthy lesson indeed. I am Obafemi Craig.
I am Kate Harmony.
LAMATA.
Lagos, my home. With LAMATA, Lagos is changing for the best. BRT lanes more than